Good morning, Carhelo, and apologies, I almost missed it. I was going for some sustenance, a cup of tea. Yes, I referred to this earlier, and we in the Rural Independents have put on the motion that, and it reads, that shall hold the public meetings except in such serious and limited circumstances as may be prescribed by law, such as an emergency period where the holding of such a meeting is not reasonably practicable, in which case a planning authority shall make auxiliary arrangements for effective and all-embracing public consultation as it regards appropriate, and invite submissions in writing for members of the public in relation to the proposed development plan. And that's in the names of all our independents, rural independents. Minister, this is very important. I think it's a fundamental part of our democratic process and our engagement with the public in planning matters. And I referred earlier, to the alienation of people, and they are being alienated slowly by, big business, and by government's inability to embrace them and engage with them, and it has served us well over the decades since our inception of our state. And now to see this, okay, we're in, as you said, this COVID situation, and we have allowed for that in our amendment, and we feel that we should have, people must have the right to have a public meeting, because there's no comparison for a public meeting. I'm talking about a civil courtly public meeting. I was at many of them. I chaired a good few of them. Many of them are held in community halls and chaired by a chairperson of the community council, or oftentimes in Sagat Parosh, or Dinner Marshin. And well, great decorum, and the panels come and engage and talk and listen, and there might be an odd spark fly, emotional people, but in general they're held with decorum and a proper, dignified way. And people can get an understanding and a feeling for the plan, and a feeling that they have ownership of the plan when they, if there's an outcome and they make, they can ask questions and get them answered. Some will be satisfied. Some will, go away and think further and maybe engage, consultants or whatever. But in the general, it's a very productive and a very good civic thing to do. And we should be encouraging more of that with younger people as well. And the younger people have no problem at all with Zoom or remote meetings. Yes, but certainly people my age, and I'm Shaska Doe, and people much older are not maybe competent to do these meetings online. And anyway, as other deputies referred to earlier, it's not easy to do them online. It's not the same as being able to have a physical encounter and engagement and, body language and whatever. You're there looking into a computer or whatever, and you might be able to get in when you want to, and you might be inhibited that way. But many people then, in where I live, in Tipperary, there's about, I think, 24,000 homes who cannot get, they have no proper decent broadband service. And they're fundamentally then denied access to this proper public consultation process. Denied completely. And and it's not even only, and I was accused this morning of having an urban-rural divide with Dublin and the rest of the country. I was told by a Labour deputy, I don't know what part of Dublin he represents, and I believe him. He said he has poor broadband, and he's part of Dublin, very poor broadband. And I see that I'm travelling these mornings in and out from Bray, and halfway in, covers completely goes with the mobile phone. That's the same way as the last 3 or 4 months. So it's a black spot, obviously, in the middle of the city, not far out from RTE. So I'm making the point, all over the country we have huge problems with connectivity with broadband. And even all to try and get a phone line, or get a phone line repaired with Aircom. It's just complete no-go area. So the public must be embraced, and we must honour our constitutional rights, and we can't bring in legislation like this just to just simply say it's for COVID and, it'll end. Legislation like this, I've seen very little legislation here repealed, and I'm here 13 or 14 years. Very little legislation repealed. So, and I don't know what the COVID legislation and the clause or review clause for November, whether that covers this or not. I'm not sure. Maybe I clarify, but I don't think it does. But I don't see much legislation being repealed. So it's vital that we encourage more participation for the public. We encourage more communities to come together And we've seen communities now where they're fired in together in big development areas, and the plan, 2040 planning, we want them all headed into the big areas. And it's often very hard to get a nucleus of a community. And people have to work very hard, the outliers and the inspirational people, to get together to try and have it. And I see estates as on Tipperary town going on now 8 or 9 years without lights. They hadn't footpaths, they hadn't proper sewerage. And the danger of another one in Monaghan, and we had in Duke and Scalaheen with many of them. And we have at Finnan. And it's unfair for people made the investment and bought a house. They didn't necessitate to buy it. And now they can't get this estate taken in charge, and there's problems with sewers and water and lights and everything else. And to try and get the busy people, and if they want to come together and form a group and have a say and an input, they can't. But since COVID came, they can't have meetings on site, they can't have anything. And where we were making some progress, albeit very slow, now it's all stalled. But in bigger areas, the big estates I'm talking about, there's 100 houses, and not a sprinkle light. Candle. It's like people day boys back in the time where we hadn't light. Before the late great Canon Hayes always said to light one candle is better than to curse the dark. These people are living in appalling conditions. Children out there, and so dangerous nowadays. You know, when you haven't a light in the estate and cars going through, and there's chicanes that don't slow them down, but there's huge difficulties. And there are a lot of those estates, and Tipperary County Council, for some reason or other, didn't get a bob into the last round of money to complete those estates. They're dealing with bonds and more of them, and developers are gone west, they're gone to wherever, America or Canada or whatever. So it's not fair to treat people like that, who put their hands in their pockets, got mortgages and bought their homes in good faith. And there was planning granted, but the planning enforcement was lax and wasn't there. And let these many cowboy builders just do what they like. Do what they like. And I addressed that earlier about the shooting range that people are afraid of their life of in my area, and it's no planning, you never had planning, built without planning, got a licence somehow from the Department of Justice, shouldn't have got. That's been revoked now by Inspector Allen and indeed Superintendent Whelan, and the courts have decided and prosecuted and gave community service. Yes.
But you seem to be straying from the
purpose
of the amendment.
I'm talking about embracing the community, the citizens. Sean's citizens are Mary's citizens.
The People Day boys are gone 200 and something odd years. It's the Orange Order now instead of them.
Sorry, who's gone?
The People Day boys are gone over 200 years.
Don't you go talk about the Orange Order now, or you'll be in Brian Stanley territory. So say nothing. Keep it doing bail. I respect you as a chair, but I'm saying on that issue, the Orange Order, because
the chair, you will respect the standing order of the House to stick to the topic.
Yes, I mean, okay. But it's very relevant for Sean's citizens and Mary's citizens. I'm
not saying whether it's relevant or not.
I'm saying it's very relevant
to the topic of the amendment.
It's very relevant to enforcement. No, it's very relevant.
This isn't to do with enforcement. This is to do with a public meeting.
But it'll all lead to the amendment is for public meetings, and it'll all lead to enforcement at some stage if it's enacted and the people haven't had their say in it, and they make objections, and there will be enforcement process possibly come through if it's deemed to be illegitimate. So it's all relevant, I think, actually. But I'll be guided by you. I'm asking. And I respect the chair, but we keep it into a republic here. We won't go up near the north at all. We look after things here. We have enough to look after here.
It's not relevant either.
Sorry?
That's not relevant either.
No, but you introduced that topic of the Orange Order. I don't think they have any lodges down in the south. They have one or two in Cavan.
The People Days disappeared and became the Orange Order. Yeah. Historical fact. That's all I was telling you.
Thanks for the history lesson.
Yes, exactly.
I'm taking to the bill. I'm taking the legislation. It's nearly like an omnibus bill, the way I told you. You made a liquid all sorts of it. You put in nice bits and bad bits, and hoping that the nice bits would encapsulate and squash into the bad bits, and we wouldn't see it. And bring it in so late in the last days of the term before Christmas. I'm saying that is shameful and that is wrong. And you'll be here railing against that if you were in opposition. And you haven't heard your railing in the last 7 or 8 years about items like this. And paying huge fines. So look, you can't have it both ways. If you cut your cloth, you have to wear it. So you're happy to be in government, and I wish you well, as I said, but it's not do as I say, not do as I say. You wanted to do as I say and not as I do. So we have this amendment, and we're pushing this amendment because I think it's a vital part that the public would be encouraged. Mulligan and Oge Chuckasheed, Mulligan and Dina, Golair and Chuckasheed, they will come and they will embrace, but if they're going to be shut out from a democratic process, they're not going to be one bit happy, and why would they? Why would they? One bit happy. So I'm as I said, I will concluded that, but we're pushing this amendment. We feel it's a reasonable amendment, and we're acceptable that it can happen for a pandemic or something like this, but not. We want guarantees that outside of that emergency situation, that the public process and the public's access and the public meetings must take place.